Good evening. How are you all this evening?
Good, how are you?
I am well. Yeah. And Nelson's good. All right. Dolores, good. Okay. We have just a few people who haven't joined us yet. So I'm going to stall just slightly, but it's not really stalling. I'm going to ask you if you have any questions or if you have any stories to tell or any comments about anything before we get started. That way we can have as many people here as possible to get started on our first activity. So questions, comments, stories? Anyone have a new joke to tell? Y'all feeling quiet tonight? Okay. Oh, there's something coming in the chat. Let's see. Okay, I do see the direct message to me in the chat, and I will talk to you directly in a couple minutes. And Jackson's tired a bit. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's another one of those cold, gray, gloomy days in February that we just seem to have an abundance of. So I can get being tired. Probably we're heading toward the middle of the semester and people are getting bogged down on things and life and all that stuff. By the way, this is a good time to mention, in case you weren't aware, since we do have a pretty large number of you whose main institution is not GRCC. GRCC's spring break starts on the 28th. So the last Monday of this month, we will not have class. And I believe in breaks, so I don't assign new work that you have to complete over that break. So you can plan for that. I know some of you may have classes, maybe that's not your spring break during that week. I know that kind of stinks when you can't have it all at once, but if you run into any trouble with that, just let me know. Let me see. My friend buckled the seatbelt on the pizza I got on the way back from our Super Bowl party. So buckling the seatbelt on the pizza, did that ruin the pizza for you or did it keep it safe? Because I have been known to buckle in, certain items to make sure they don't go flying in the car. Thing you weren't expecting. Yeah, well, now you know there are some of us who are crazy and we buckle in pizza and things like that because we don't want to take a chance on it just flying through the car. All right. Okay, it sounds like the rush of people coming to class is over. I'm not seeing any more questions or comments in the chat. So let me turn off my camera so that it's more likely that my screen will share without causing problems, and we'll talk about what's happening in class today. All right. So those of you who were here last week, which is most of you. Oh, wait. Hold on. Somebody sold chocolate covered strawberries yesterday. Okay. I'm sure there are a lot of people that like that. So that's good. Okay, so those of you who were here last week, which is most of you, know that you started on a new project and it's a team project. You were assigned groups based on like your areas of study that you had told me about. However, I don't know that I think most groups have deviated from those areas of study in the projects, the products that you chose to create, which is really good. It's interesting. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's good. I did have a couple of groups asking if that was okay. And yes, absolutely, that is fine. That was just to give you maybe some common ground when you're put into a group of people you don't necessarily know. Just what common ground could I give you to begin with? And that was, besides taking this class, your areas of study kind of overlap with each other. So we're going to be continuing on that project today. You had descriptions that you wrote about the product that you created. And so the first thing we're going to be doing in class today is a workshop on those descriptions. So there's a guide, which I will show you. Okay. So in this guide, those of you that were in your teams last week, your names are on here by team. Each team has been assigned another team's product description to review. So if you just click on the link, you can go to the document. And I gave commenting privileges, so you can put comments right on the documents, but you don't have editing, so you can't go in and mess up what they've already done. But you do want to read through the product description, compare it to the required criteria, which is the same thing that was on your project assignment. And so those things are there. And then at the end, like make sure all the required criteria is there, or make a note of what's not there or what maybe needs a little improvement, and note the specific improvements, but then go and just consider, do you have a sense of the product as a whole? So if somebody were to come and ask you to explain the product that you were just reading a description of, would you be able to tell somebody else what it's about, what the product is and what it does? Do you understand what it is, what its purpose is? Do you have a sense of the problem the product might solve, or is there still some information that needs to be given about that? Is it a readable, usable description of the product? And are the visuals, remember, one is required, relevant, and helpful. And some groups may or may not have visuals together yet. You didn't really have a super long time to create your descriptions and your visuals last time. So if the group is still working on visuals, maybe just a reminder that one is required. And then at the very end, provide at least 2 or 3 specific suggestions for revision, more if it's appropriate, but be specific, give good help, give the kind of help you would want from other people in reviewing your work. Are there any questions about this? Or any concerns about this assignment? The first thing that we're doing today. Anyone? Okay.
I did have a question. I was just looking at the shared screen, and it looks like our team, I don't know if that's a document attached, but somehow that team name might have got switched with the team above us because we're check-in.
You are reviewing check-in. Or you are you're reviewing, sorry, which one are you again? You're
yep.
Reviewing, yeah, never mind, I can't talk. The one that's next to you is the one you're reviewing.
Gotcha. Sorry, missed that instruction.
That's okay. That's why I wanted to know if anyone had questions, because sometimes what I say maybe comes out differently than I intended it. So some people get confused sometimes. It's okay. Let's see.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody else has said in the chat they had the same issue. They thought that was the group they're in. So Edis, Riley, and Sabrina are going to be reviewing the Sustainable Solutions product. Or it's actually a business. And then Nelson, Beth, Augustine, you will review Galactic Goggles. Taylor, Ethan, Emily, Daniela, you will review the Working Space Accessibility Project. Dolores, Grace, and Joe, you get Team Doggo, the, was it iDoggo? Hey Doggo app. Shelby and Landon get check-in. Jaden and Jackson get task force, and Justin and Sharon get to review Ice Away. Okay, so yeah, so you just click on the one that's next to you, next to your name, your team. You'll get to review that one. You have about 15-ish minutes. The closer you can stay to 15 minutes and still do a really good job, the better. But, if it takes a little bit longer to get through your review, that's okay as well. Just come back to the main room when you're done. When all the groups are done, then you can as a group kind of click on your own document, the one that actually belongs to your team, and read the comments that have been left for you. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, I've got some yeses in the chat. Right. If you get confused, please ask. It took me a while to figure out the best way to get this set up so that we could just do it in the breakout rooms. And I didn't have everyone's email addresses popping up when I was trying to share the documents directly. So I chose this way. It may not be the best way, but it will work. So when you are finished reviewing your the document that you have, come back to the main room. When all the teams are back in the main room, then the teams will, click on your own document. You'll go back into your breakout rooms, click on your own document, and then make any revisions you need to make. And again, you'll have about 15 minutes for that. And I think most of the groups, most of the teams, 15 minutes should be fairly sufficient for that, and won't leave you with a lot that you'd have to do outside of class time, if anything, outside of class time to have it revised. And then you'd be able to submit the revised version, possibly even tonight. Any questions about this first kind of half hour of work that you'll be doing? Okay, if someone would, I'm going to create breakout rooms for the teams. And if someone could be kind enough to get the link for the workshop document and just drop that in the chat to make it easier for anyone who's not got the slides open themselves, that would be really helpful. And then if you can give me just a couple minutes to get the breakout rooms set up, that would be really nice. And let me see if I can. All right, there we go. Sign manually. By the way, Landon, it kind of looks like you might be on your own this evening. So if you need me to step in and work with you on anything, please let me know. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Shelby has joined class, at least not yet. All right, I will be opening all the rooms. You are free to move to those rooms unless you have questions for me. And Maddie, I will chat with you once they're all moved to their rooms. And thank you to Ethan and Beth. Okay, Landon, great. Okay. Maddie, it looks like it's just you and me now.
All right. Can you hear me? My mic sometimes gets weird.
Yeah, I can hear you right now. I'll let you know if I
Okay,
can.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so I spent this week making a power glove that would work for the hard of hearing so they could play video games and have the same experience.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, spent a lot of time on it. So that's
Amazing.
why I was like, could I just like keep going instead of joining someone else?
Yes.
But if I have to, I can. It's just I put a lot of
Well,
work into it, so
so no, I think that's a fantastic idea. And the only other people, there are other people that are in a related field to you.
Oh, okay, there are.
Yeah, but they're not doing anything with that for this project. I'm just trying to find
Oh
my,
no.
I know. It's like none of
Well,
the,
when I saw the assignment, because unfortunately, I had a bit of a mental thing going on last week,
oh,
but I'm on new medication now, so
oh,
hoping
good.
that doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Hopefully
Uh,
that medication is kicking in and giving you some peace because the medication is so good when it works.
it is so nice when it works. So yeah, it was a testing period last week, and like it just did not cut it, so we had to change it up. Anyway, regardless, so I saw the assignment and I was like, oh my gosh, it's very similar to something that I had done for my user experience class in my program.
Okay.
And so I kind of just expanded on an idea that was like roughly concepted. And you can
Mhm.
see like my early concepts in the PDF I sent. Like I made like a whole powers. Yeah, anyway.
That's great.
Did a lot.
I think it's a fantastic project, and if you're comfortable doing it on your own, that is fine. I was just looking back at my notes of who would be in what group, and the reason I said I would, well, one of the reasons I said I would chat with you after everyone went to their rooms was because I was going to chat with you after to find out. But we also have another student who sometimes logs into class and sometimes doesn't. And that student
Oh,
had
okay.
logged in at the beginning, but has since disappeared.
Oh, that's not good.
So there actually isn't anyone else right now for you to work with anyway.
Okay. So it worked out.
Yes, and it sounds like you are very enthusiastic about this project. I think it sounds fantastic. If you're comfortable doing it on your own, then I say go for it.
Okay. If that's the case, would you mind looking at it and giving me revisions since the other groups aren't able to?
I will be glad to look at it and give you
Thank
some
you.
feedback and stuff. Did you submit it on Blackboard already, or do
I
you want
did.
to? Okay.
I can also share my screen. Up to you.
And why don't you share your screen and then we can just chat about it here.
Okay. Thank you.
Unless you
I'm
would
sorry that I gotta
prefer.
take. It has to be enabled first.
Oh yeah, you're right. I always forget that. Like I know that that's the case, and I still always forget it. You
To
should
be
hear.
fair, that's totally fair because some people abuse that share screen. I've had it in other online classes, so it's good to start off with it disabled.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is.
Sometimes you don't want to be seeing people's stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Yay, it's working now. All right. Let me pull this up here. And let me know if you can see it.
Okay. It hasn't shared yet. Like it just says you've started. Okay, there you are. Okay. Yeah, I can see it
Okay,
pretty
cool.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea of it, okay, cool. So originally I was just gonna go with like, oh, it is so laggy. Okay.
With your descriptions, the revisions, you'll be able to do that. But I want to make sure, oops. Sorry, I accidentally closed the rooms. Ignore that. I have too many things open and I was trying to click on something else. So anyway. Okay. So I want to make sure that we have enough time for you all to work. I want you to have, a pretty decent chunk of class time to be working uninterrupted, ideally, for the rest of class. So I want to go through the pitch presentation information fairly quickly, and you can always come back and ask questions. I'm here for that and I can explain more. And if you need more of an explanation as a class, I can always create another video to put on Blackboard that you can have access to. But I think it's going to be pretty straightforward for you. We're going to start by watching this short video on how to pitch your startup in 3 minutes. This, it's geared toward maybe a startup company, but it works. All the information works perfectly for a product. So we'll go ahead and watch that and then we'll talk.
With MailChimp's Customer Journey Builder, you can connect with more customers and lead them and their furry friends down the path to purchase.
A pitch is the story of your product and company. It is never too early to start sharing your idea. To impress and excite people about your business, you need to be prepared to pitch anytime, anywhere. When giving a pitch, start with a simple greeting, followed by a catchy tagline to grab the interest of your audience. Keep it short and sweet. What if someone started their pitch with, "I will put Google out of business"? Wouldn't you want to know how they do it? Continue with describing the problem your company or business idea solves. Create a story to evoke emotions. Make your audience genuinely feel the pain. Use the relevant figures and statistics to convince them that this is a pressing problem. Remember to pause for dramatic effect throughout your storytelling. This gives time for the information to sink in with the listener. Once you have their attention, describe your solution to the problem. Explain clearly how your concept works and how you have tested it to prove this. Use visuals to demonstrate what your product or service looks like. It can be a video, a photo, or a screenshot of your application's features. You will have competitors, so highlight your unique value proposition. Illustrate to your audience why your solution is the best in your specific target market. Explain your business model to show that you have a solid plan to generate revenue. Next, explain what you have achieved so far and how you plan to grow. This shows potential investors where you are on your journey and your stage of maturity, and that you have a vision to scale the business to even more customers. Once you've convinced your audience that your solution is the best one on the market to address an important problem or need, and that you have a strong business, then it's time to introduce your team. What makes your team the right one to deliver this specific solution? Don't forget that you are pitching to get results. This call to action is based on who you are telling your story to. It can be anything from getting investment to finding your early adopters to use the service, or getting partners to take your company to the next level. If you feel your startup is ready for investment, ask for realistic amounts based on a budget and the maturity level of your startup. Wrap up your pitch in a full circle. When telling a compelling story, make sure you close the circle by coming back to where you started. Always finish by thanking your audience. Now that you have your first pitch script together, the real work begins. Analyze the language and make sure words are used intentionally. Is the language effective and powerful? Instead of saying, we are aiming to create, which makes you sound uncertain, instead be direct and say, we create. Pitching while using notes is very unprofessional. So take time practicing and memorizing your pitch. A startup story keeps evolving and you will go through many drafts before you get close to a good pitch. Once you think you have it together, do a couple of exercises. If you had to limit the time to only 30 seconds, what elements would you include? What if you only had 10 seconds to impress someone? Having shorter versions of your pitch is very useful, especially at networking events, so be prepared for anything. Pair your story together with a smartly designed pitch deck. A pitch deck is a PowerPoint presentation that you present while you pitch. Use high quality images and only the very necessary minimal text. Graphs and visuals help to support your message, and if you don't have a designer on your team, investing a little in graphic design services goes a long way. A professional pitch deck allows you to demonstrate your product, as well as results from product validation, such as customer feedback. It adds to what you are saying during your pitch, instead of repeating it. There's a difference between an investor pitch and a demo pitch. So make sure that the materials you are sending someone digitally have all the necessary elements of your 3-minute pitch, including the numbers on traction so far and estimated growth figures. Finally, whenever it's time to tell your story, remember that the audience trusts a confident speaker. Deliver your well-prepared and well-rehearsed pitch in a confident manner. Body language is important and says a lot about how comfortable you feel while delivering your pitch. Your audience should feel that you are relaxed and at ease. So stand on both your feet and use your hands naturally. And don't forget to smile.
All right. So as we just saw in that video, the elements of a pitch include the greeting and tagline, the problem and story, the solution that you've developed, your unique value and your vision for the product and for growth, the team and why your team is the best team to work on this solution, a call to action, and a closing that includes a thank you to the audience. So it's pretty straightforward structure for a pitch. Do we have any questions about it so far?
How would you pitch your team if you're the only member?
Well, you would have to talk about how amazing you are as a one-person team.
Oh, goodness. Okay, thanks.
Or you could make up imaginary team members,
Okay.
which would probably be maybe, I don't know, more robust.
Could be, could be. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about the pitch structure? Okay, so remember the qualities that were given about a good presentation. They include using intentional, clear, direct language, knowing your material without using notes. She said to memorize it, but you don't have to memorize it so much that it becomes robotic. You want to just know it so well that you can deliver it naturally without referring to notes. You want to use high quality images with minimal text. Think of most like TED Talk kind of presentations where there are few slides for the most part, and they contain only the necessary images, the necessary text. And then as a presenter or a group of presenters, you want to speak confidently, you want to have relaxed body language, and you want to remember to smile, which sometimes is, terrifying, but yes. Oh yes, pexels.com is a great place for quality stock photos that are free and legal to use. I use them, and that is a great resource. Thank you for sharing that, Shelby. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, check out the chat and check out that resource. It's a really good one. Let's see. So when you go to create your pitch presentation, you want to keep the rhetorical situation in mind. You want to remember that your purpose is to gain investment funds. So you are presenting, the audience you're presenting to are potential investors. Okay, so you want to gain investment funds, and you want to understand what are potential investors like? Who are they? What do they want to know? What do they worry about? What do they care about? How will what you say solve a problem or make life better for them or someone they personally know? How can you create a personal connection with them and make them believe that you are solving a problem for them? Your content, you want to keep it simple. In 3 minutes, you don't have enough time to go into full-blown details and tangents and things. Keep it straightforward and simple. Start planning with the end of your presentation in mind. If there are any Stephen Covey fans in here, 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person, the first habit is to begin with the end in mind. What do you most want your audience to take from or remember from this presentation? And then create a theme for your presentation. Create a tagline that's memorable. She gave us the example of somebody saying that they're going to put Google out of business. What kind of a tagline can you create? What is your single sentence story for your product? Invest in this product because it does this, or it meets this need, or it will, make your life better in this way. So really think about that single sentence story tagline kind of idea, because you can build an entire presentation around that. In the beginning, you want to know the heart of your message and its biggest benefit to the audience so that you can communicate the heart of your message and its biggest benefit to the audience. You can do one or more of these 4 things, or any combination of them. You can combine things together, but paint a picture of the problem you'll address and refer to your solution. Connect with your audience through a personal experience related to your message. Pose a rhetorical question that leads to your solution, or give a vision of how life will improve when they know what you're about to share. So think of one of those ways or a combination of those ways to open up your pitch. Then you go into the middle of the presentation, the body of the presentation. You want to keep to the theme. What is the theme that you created? And you want to organize that material logically. So you want to talk about the problem. What is the problem? And how does your product help with that problem? Why is this product needed for this problem? What are you asking for and why? Who is the product going to help? Don't just say whoever comes across it or anyone who buys it or whatever. Be specific about what group of people will this product help. If it will replace any other product, what will it replace and what are its advantages over the other products? You may not have that for most of these. How was the idea for this? How did it originate, the idea for the project? How did it originate and how was it developed? That might be part of the story that you tell. It may not be. Maybe there's no great story about how it originated, but if that's part of your story, if that's an interesting part of your story that's going to create connection with your audience and really emphasize why this product is created and what it's going to do to improve someone's life, then you should tell that part of your story. And where do things stand now with your product? And remember, you're going to have to imagine a lot of this because most of you are not really creating the product that you're talking about. You're imagining one that you would create if you were in that situation. So you might have to imagine, where would you be now in your process? What are the next steps? What's the financing that you need? What's a reasonable amount of money that you would need investors to give, and how is that money going to be used? And then what's your future vision, the anticipated market for the product, any future product development that you can see? When you go to actually present this, when you put the material together, you want to make it interesting. And you can do that by maybe adding in some fun facts or some anecdotes, giving examples, and sharing maybe some surprising discoveries. One effective way to organize is to try a numbered approach. Here are the top 5 ways our product will do this. And so you can go through the presentation sharing those 5 ways. And that's a way that really engages the audience as they're waiting for the next one. They're counting them off to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you're counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whichever way you would end up doing it, would kind of get the audience a little more involved in the presentation. And then when you have given all of that information about your product, how it solves the problem, what kind of funding you need, what you're going to do with it, what you envision for the future, you want to bring it full circle, but keep it brief for your ending. So state your conclusion. What is your grand conclusion? Maybe you'll sum up what you've said, but think of that sum up as that single sentence story again. And maybe you want to revise that single sentence story to keep it a little bit fresh for the conclusion, for the ending. Reinforce whatever takeaway you want, and close with an energizing vision of the future as it relates to your product. And don't forget to thank your audience. Those are the thank you at the end is really important. So don't forget to thank your audience. When you choose your visuals or create your visuals, you want to keep it simple. You want to use only what's necessary to support your presentation. Your ideas, your product should be the focus of the presentation, not fancy images and slides and things that distract. You don't want long lists of bullet pointed material with lists and sublists. You don't want complex charts and graphs. You don't want sets of statistics. You want to keep the fonts that you use simple, and you want them big. You want to imagine that you are giving this pitch presentation in an auditorium that seats a few hundred people, and the person who got stuck sitting in the very back needs to be able to read your slides as well as the person sitting up front. So you want to use a big font for that. Usually around 24 is the smallest you'd want to go. You want to be consistent with your slides. Any slides that you use, any illustrations, you want to be consistent with the formatting, the colors, the style, and the types of illustrations. So don't use photos and hand drawings and cartoons all at once. If you start with photos, try to use photos all the way through. And then if appropriate, if there is a short relevant video clip, you could include that, but that is not required for this. All right, any questions? All right. You are going to spend the rest of class time in your teams. There are 4 pitch presentations of various styles that I would like you to watch and discuss. This is the time of each of the videos, the length of each of the videos. You may decide you're only going to watch 1 or 2 of them together, and then watch the other ones separately, given the time that we have left tonight. Although I do really think you should watch them all, because that can give you some really great ideas for your pitch. But if you were to only watch 2 of them, I think I would suggest Bright Wheel and the 15-year-old. I think those ones would probably be the most enlightening as far as pitches go, the most relatable, and maybe even the most motivating. But when you watch them, discuss what is going well, what you like about them, and what you'll include in your own pitch. And then you're going to create your pitch. And I have some slides here that kind of can walk you through a bit of that, so you can look at that. And your assignments that are due, you have your revised product description due Thursday by noon. Your presentations you'll be giving in class next week. You will have some time to meet before we give the presentations to kind of run through them, but you really need to have them pretty well set by the time class starts next week. I do want you to submit on Blackboard your outline and any other planning notes, so that I can just kind of refer to that and see what your process has been. And then if you have time this week to catch up on some of the readings, if you haven't done them, that would be great, especially the presentations and the instructions. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to go with your teams in your breakout rooms, watch at least two, ideally all, but at least two of those pitch presentation videos, and talk about them, work on your own pitch. And then at the end of class, just pop back into the main room and let me know how things go. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm here. You can come out and ask questions. You can ask me to come into your room and have a talk with all of you if you'd like, whatever works best for you. So are there any questions or concerns? Anything you want me to address that I haven't?
Do you have an example of a pitch?
That's what,
posted, or-
well, that's what you're gonna watch.
Oh, okay.
That's what these videos are. Those are pitch examples.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
When we submit our presentations on Blackboard, is there a certain platform you want those done in? I know we're going to present in by video, but is there something we should be putting the information on?
Like PowerPoint or
Yeah.
Google, it's up to you. You can
Okay.
use PowerPoint, you can use Google Slides, you could use Prezi if that worked. I don't really know if that would work for this or not. It might. Whatever works for you. And if you have an idea and you want to run it by me, that would be fine as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions or concerns? If you don't have questions or concerns, feel free to go back to your breakout rooms. If you do have questions, go ahead and stick around here for a few minutes and I'll help you with those before you join your rooms.